好像很远一样的，那个你那个你电梯还更有人进，我
走进去，我底下再弯进去。
我弯进去了，我看这里面有的，因为我看电梯开都没有人。哦，跑了，然后你看，我走上去，那 B 还是在2楼有一台车，我走过去，不懂，我一走进去，关门的车门，没有走进去，放脚。
你怎么上了车？怎么上了车
I think they take leave, I think. Yeah. Okay, so let's begin our today's session. Okay, today we are going to look into a topic on bonds. Okay, so we look into bonds market. So a few things that you need to know in this chapter itself. First of all, you need to understand how the bonds work. Okay, and then we are going to look into the relationship between few variables. Okay, they might be coming out as a theory questions. So we want to see the relationship between coupon rate and YTM, year to maturity, current yield, and year to maturity later on. And then after that, we will learn about what is feature equation. Okay, but gist of today's class is to understand what is the bonds and how the bonds work, because we are going to calculate the valuation of the bonds. That means we have to calculate the present value of the bonds later on. So let's have a look into the first slide over here. Okay, so first of all, it says that bonds, okay, we talk about bonds is what we call as a debt financing. Okay, debt financing. So bond is a long-term financial instrument issued by the company, or it can be issued by the government as well, to raise funds, okay, as a source of financing. So we call it as debt financing. Okay, why? Because bonds, it comes with a responsibility in which you have to pay them interest, which is the returns to the people who actually invest in your bonds, okay, on annual basis or on semi-annual basis. Okay, so let's have a look into how the bond works. Okay, first of all, let's say this is Mr. A. Okay, so when he wanted to buy a bond, right? Okay, so the bonds, the par value of bonds, par value is also called face value. So I want you to remember the first thing is that when we talk about the par value or the face value of bonds, okay, it is always 1,000. Okay, now let's say for simplicity, we assume that this bond will give you a coupon rate of, let's say, 10%. Okay, we call it coupon rate. Okay, coupon rate of 10%. So if let's say this bond will give a coupon rate of 10%, okay, how much is he getting every year? So let's say this coupon rate is 10% per year. Okay, so coupon rate is the returns. Okay, so that means if you buy this bond, every year you will get a 10% return, assuming it's for annual, it's on the annual basis. For simplicity, we assume it's annual, but when we do questions, when it comes to exam, it will usually be semi-annual. Okay, but I will show you how we do semi-annual later on. But now we assume that it's on an annual basis. Okay, so coupon rate 10% per year. So that's your annual returns. Okay, so very good. So now I want to calculate how much the actual payment, the coupon payment. I want to find out what is the coupon payment that this Mr. A can get every year with this 10%. So coupon payment we call as PMT. Okay, your annual payment that you receive as part of your cash flow, right? So 10% of 1,000 is 100. Okay, betul? So therefore, Mr. A buy this bond in now at current year 0. Okay, assuming it will be mature by year 6. Okay, by year 6. Okay, we just throw any simple example. Okay, so that means every year, year 1, year 2, year 3, year 4, year 5, until year 6, every year, he will be receiving this 100, 100, 100, 100, yada, until it matures, you will get the 100 plus the initial value that you spend, 1,000, the par value. Okay, so that means every year Mr. A will get 100 until it matures. So it matures at year 6. Okay, it matures at year 6. You will also get back your face value. The 1,000 here is the face value. You should get it back as well. Okay, So therefore, the number of period is how many periods? Because this is yearly basis. So we have 6 periods over here. N is 6. Okay. Now, so therefore, you can see that we have a lot of information over here. Okay. If today I were to calculate the present value of the bonds or the prices of the bonds, how do I calculate? It's the same thing like how you do this for your stock valuation. Okay, you have to discount back all the future cash flow they receive, okay, to the present value plus the present value of the dividend of the par value they receive in the future. So you discount everything back in order to calculate the present value of the bonds. Okay, so that means I repeat, in order for you to calculate the valuation of the bonds, to calculate the price of the bonds, you discount all the cash flow they receive in the future and also the par value they receive in the future. Okay, now actually we will use the calculation method, just like how you do the normal calculations for the PV. Okay, one more thing is that for this one, there's another component that you need to know is market interest rate, or we call it as IY. Okay, market interest rate. So you think about IY as market interest rate. So market interest rate is always changing. Okay, so we have to take into account market interest rate as well. Why? Because later on, you can see that there is a diverse, or what we call as a negative relationship between the present value of bonds and the market interest rate. Why? Because when a new bond is being issued, right, it's based on the current market interest rate. So therefore, if the current market interest rate is higher, that means the new bond is way better. That's way more worthwhile. So therefore, the present value of the bonds, of the existing bonds, the bonds that have been issued, will become lower. Why? Because people prefer to buy the new bonds as compared to the old bonds. Okay, so you will see a relationship like this later on. Okay, so therefore, you can see later on, when you see the market interest rate, is higher, what happens is the present value of the bonds will be lower, which is lower than 1,000, lower than the par value. Okay, we will show that through calculations later on. So how do you do all this calculation? So very simple. Okay, you write everything down. First of all, face value, FV. FV here means face value. So face value is always equals to 1,000. Okay, and then we write the coupon payment that we receive, okay, which is 100. Okay, and we have number of period, which is 6. Okay, and we take into account the market interest rate as well. Okay, any numbers. Okay, and then we press compute PV. You should get the answers. So that is the answers of how you calculate the valuation for bonds. So in your final exam, you are only writing this one. Okay, that's how you calculate the present value of the bonds. Okay, good. You need to switch off one light so that it will be clearer. Can see, if I can see, then never mind lah. Got TV also can. Yeah. Okay, Ken. Let's continue. Okay. So therefore, this is what I say: the price of the bonds, the present value of the bonds, equals to the present value of the coupon payments they receive and the present value of the face value, in which you discount everything back to calculate the valuation of bonds. Okay, if you use the calculation method, this is the formula. Okay, this is plus. So this is the formula if you are using calculation manual methods, which usually you do not do that. Okay, so this is the present value of the coupon payment, and this is the face value of the for the present value for the face value. Okay, so now let's move on to the next part over here. This part is important, so it may come out as a theory questions. So we are going to look into some relationships between different variables. Okay, so like for example, we look into the difference between coupon rate, and year to maturity. Okay, one thing I want to remember, when you look into year to maturity, I want you to remember as market interest rate. Okay, so now remember YTM. YTM means year to maturity. It means the market interest rate. Or you can call it as the nominal rate. Okay. Now, so therefore, here, coupon rate is the one that we calculate just now to calculate our coupon payment. Okay, so what happened is this. First of all, let's say, okay, when we want to look into coupon rate calculations, coupon rate equals to annual coupons divided by face value of the bonds. Face value is always equals to 1,000, okay, times 100. So that's the formula for coupon rate. Now, so when we talk about coupon rate, so if let's say the coupon rate that's being given by the bonds are way higher than the market interest rate, okay, that's what I call as premium bonds. Premium bonds, that means it is more than 1,000. Okay, premium bonds means more than 1,000. That means more than the par value, of the bonds. Okay, so that means what? That means the coupon rate, the rate that's being given by the bonds will be higher than the rate that's being given in the market. Okay, so that's the first thing here. Second, if the coupon rate that the bonds give is lower than the market interest rate, we call it as a discount bonds. That means you rather to buy another new bonds that's just issued in the market. Okay, so therefore discount bond means that it is lower than the par value of the bond. That means lower than the 1,000. If both equal to each other, that means we call it as bond at par. Okay, bonds at the nominal value. Okay. Now, on the other hand, we look into the relationship between current yield and year to maturity. So how do you calculate current yield? So here we talk about yield, just like how you calculate the dividend yield itself. We look into the annual coupons divided by the price of bonds. Okay, price of bonds. So you want to see how much you receive, okay, by investing the bond itself times 100 to calculate the yield. Okay, so therefore you can see a relationship over here. Okay, today, if let's say the price of bond that you purchase is a very low price. Okay, so you see price of bond is actually at the denominator over here, correct now. So therefore, what happens is this. If the price of bond is very cheap, like what we call as a discount bond, let's say if it's discount bond. So when this denominator is lower, what happens is the current yield will be high. Okay, so if current yield is higher than the yield to maturity, we know it's a discount bond. Okay, on the other hand, let's say now we spend a lot of money to buy the bonds. Let's say the price of bond is super high. Okay, when this denominator becomes higher, what happens is this current yield will become lower. So if my current yield is lower than the market interest rate, okay, what happens is we know that is a premium bond. Okay, because that could be a possibility where the price of bond is way higher, therefore causing the current yield to be lower. So you can see there's an inverse relationship between the types of bonds and the yield itself. Okay, when both equal to each other, we call it as bond and par. Okay, or we call it as nominal value. So I just want you to see the relationship over here. Okay, as in when coupon rate is larger than market interest rate. Okay, that means this is a premium bond because when you buy this bond, you get higher coupon rate, the returns as compared to the new bonds that's being issued in the market based on the new market interest rate. Okay, vice versa, if it's lower than the market interest rate, it's a discount bond. On the other hand, when we compare the current yield with the yield to maturity, if current yield is way lower than the yield to maturity, maybe because this is a premium bond, because the price of bond is too high, therefore causing your yield to be low. Same like how you buy your stocks. So when you buy your stock at a low price, what happens is you get the dividends every year, okay, and therefore that will actually result in a very high dividend yield. Okay, so if you buy the stock price at a low price, what happens is you receive the annual dividends, so therefore it causes your dividend yield to be high. On the other hand, if you buy the stocks at a very high price, what happens is you still get back the same annual dividends, so that will actually reduce your dividend yield. Same thing here, if your current yield is very high, larger than year to maturity, that means it's a discount bond. Okay, so this is just to show you some relationships. But overall, what's the most important is this one, the relationship between the price and the year to maturity. Okay, so as I say, year to maturity is the market interest rate, or we call it as nominal rate. The higher the market interest rate, okay, what happened is the more worthwhile for you to buy the new bonds that have just been issued in the market. So there'll be the lower the price of the old bonds. Okay, so that means when the market interest rate is getting higher, the price of the existing bonds that have already been issued, the price of all bonds will get lower and lower. So forming a negative relationship between the price of the bonds and the year to maturity. So I repeat, year to maturity means market interest rate. Okay, one last part is about Fisher effect. Okay, so first of all, Fisher effect, we look into few variables over here in which we look into real interest rate, nominal interest rate, and inflation. Okay, let's see. We follow all this symbol here. Big R is nominal rate, small r is real rate, and hash is inflation. Okay, let's have a look into a scenario. You see, today, every time we talk about real interest rate, what do we mean? Okay, so you see, for example, you put money in the bank, you get interest. What kind of interest rate they receive? That one is what we call as nominal interest rate. Why? Because that one, does it take into account of inflation? No, right? So therefore, let's say they give you a 4% interest. Maybe the cost of living, the inflation is higher than 4%. Okay, so therefore, you see that's what we call as nominal rate. Okay, the one that you get in terms of interest that's being given by the bank is what we call as the nominal rate. Okay, so therefore, nominal rate, okay, need to minus out the inflation hash. Okay, then only you will get your real interest rate. So this is why every time we say that when you want to have your real interest rate, okay, every time we talk about real interest rate or real value, that means what? It has adjusted, it has already been adjusted for inflation. What do we mean by adjusted for inflation? That means I remove the effects of inflation. Like for example, this nominal interest rate usually is very high. Okay, I want to remove out the rows of inflation first. Then only I can find out my real interest rate, the real value itself. Okay, so I can move around. If today I were to calculate this nominal interest rate, okay, so how? So basically it's just real inflation, real interest rate plus the inflation. Okay, the real interest rate plus the inflation is what we call as the nominal interest rate. Big R is the nominal interest rate. Okay, now this is the simple version of the Fisher effect, which is not so realistic because when you understand this formula, it's not so helpful. Why do we need to understand this Fisher effect? Because next time when you lend money to people, you need to make sure that the amount of money that people pay you back can actually cover the cost of living, fair enough? Because inflation is happening every year. So therefore, okay, let's say today when someone want to borrow money from you, hey, your friend want to borrow money from you, okay, yes, you give the money already. So you want to do a contract. Okay, you want to do a contract and say that, okay, after a few years, you need to return back this principal amount together with the interest payment. So how do you do? So for example, P is the price that you borrow to your friend. Okay, 1 plus the interest rate. Okay, let's say R is the nominal interest rate. Okay, let's say we just assume P bracket 1 plus R. Why? Because P times 1 is because the person need to pay you back the principal amount. Okay, P times R is because the interest payment. Okay, so you come out a contract by saying that, okay, after a few years, you need to pay back this amount, which is P bracket 1 plus R. Because as a layman person, you will never know, actually, you actually do not take into account of all this inflation. You may not know how to do all this. So therefore, for simplicity, we assume that P bracket 1 plus R, and the R here is the nominal interest rate. The big R is the nominal interest rate. Okay, now, but this kind of method is not so good. Why? As I say, because if you put it as a nominal rate, okay, that means it doesn't even take into account of the inflation. So it's not good. What if today you can come up with a better strategy by ensuring that the amount of money that your friend pay you back in future can buy you the same amount of goods and services that you can purchase today? That will be better, correct now? Because this one, if you put P1 plus the nominal interest rate, you are just asking your friend to pay you back based on a random interest rate in which it doesn't take into account of any inflation. So probably the money that the friends lend you back, return you back, right, will not be able to have enough to buy the same amount of goods and services as compared to now because of inflation now. Okay, so you can modify this formula by saying that you want to take into account of the real value. Okay, you want to ensure that the amount of money that your friends get back to you in the future can buy you the same amount of goods and services. Okay, so I want to take into account of the real interest rate. Okay, and therefore I need to ensure that the amount of money that the person return back to me will be able to buy me the same amount of goods and services. So therefore, if there's any changes in the price of goods and services, I have to take that into account as well. So that means if there's any inflation, I will have to take into consideration, which is price times 1 plus expected inflation. Okay. So here you can see I can modify the formula in which I take into account of the real interest rate and the expected inflation. So both sides I have P, I can cut it down. So therefore at the end, 1 plus R equals to 1 plus R times 1 plus hash, which is another Fisher effect that you see over here. Okay, so usually how the question come out, usually they will give you all the values. They will give you this nominal interest rate, real interest rate, and expected inflation. You just substitute that in and calculate the answer. So like for example, they will give you these two values and ask you to calculate this one or any two and then calculate the other ones. Okay, so this is how the Fisher effect is being derived. Okay, so that's the thing you need to know for your tutorial 6. All good? Okay, so we are done with this one. Okay, so let's have a look into tutorial questions. Huh? Sorry? You just remember the formula and then you substitute the values in. Like for example, they give you nominal rate and the inflation. Then you calculate the real interest rate.
Then you have to explain as well.
No. Usually they won't even ask. Okay. Okay, first few theory questions. Bond ratings. Now, why is that so important for the companies or for the government to rate their bonds? Because rating itself is a form of credibility. So you know, when the rating is good, okay, what happens is it give the investors confidence, okay, in which that you know the companies or the government will not run away from you, so they can get the annual returns every year. Okay, so therefore, without rating, it's very hard for the bonds to be sold. So therefore, rating over here is a form of credibility, the credibility for the government as well as for the company. Okay. Now, second question, we look into the bond prices versus the yields. Okay, so for example, you can see the second question over here. I look into the relationship between the price of bonds and yield to maturity. Remember, we just say yield to maturity is what we call as the market interest rate. The higher the market interest rate, the lower the price of bonds, in which we see a negative relationship over here. Okay. Now, moving on, question B, explain why some bonds sell at a premium price, which is over the par value, while others bonds sell at discount. What do you know about the relationship between the coupon rate and the yield to maturity for premium bonds? And what about the discount bonds? And what about the bonds at par value? This one, you are using the table that I just mentioned to you, the second column. Okay, the second column. You compare between the coupon rate and the yield to maturity. Okay, and the other one is what is the relationship between the current yield and the yield to maturity for the three types of bonds, the premium bonds, the discount bonds, and the bonds selling at par value. Again, this is looking into the same table as well, the third column. Okay, so just remember, we are basically just looking into the relationship. Like for example, just now that one.
Okay.
Hey, hi.
对不起，
Hey, it's okay. 我还以为你不要来。
那早上我就不来了，
嘿，没有来我很伤心的嘞。
有没有哭一下？我想看你哭。
Okay, so basically this theory question we look into a table only, yeah. Okay, you can refer to a table. I want to focus on calculations. Okay, so therefore there are some calculations for us to prove that what we have just learned is true. Like for example, okay, if the coupon rate is 10% and the market interest rate is 10%, remember market interest rate is what we call as YTM, or we call as the IY in calculation. So you see, if both equal to each other, the price of the bonds will be at par value, which is 1,000. Okay, if let's say the coupon rate is 10%, which is larger than the market interest rate. Okay, remember, this is year to maturity. So this is way better, right? The bonds will give you higher amount of payment. Okay, so therefore, it will be a premium bonds. So you see the bonds is larger than 1,000. Okay, if let's say the coupon rate is 10% lower than 11%, lower than the market interest rate, Okay, what happened is it's better for you to buy a new bonds. So therefore, the bonds is what we call as a discount bonds, in which it is lower than the 1,000. Okay, so you can see this is par value, this is premium, and this is discount. Okay. Now let's do calculations. Okay, so this is the kind of question you'll come across as at least one question in your exam. But this is easy one because it's annual. Okay, so Lycan Incorporated has 7% coupon bonds. Okay, on the market that has 8 years left to maturity. The bonds make annual payments. If the year to maturity on this bond is 10%, the IY is 10%. What is the present value of bonds? What is the current bond price? Current bond price means the present value of the bonds. Macam mana we do? Very simple. First of all, 7% of coupon bonds means what? Okay, means that my PMT, the coupon payment is 1,000 times 7%, which is 70. That means this is the amount that you receive every year from purchasing this bond. Okay, so first thing first, remember one tips, when you do in the exam, listen, for bonds question, always write FV equals to 1,000, 1 mark. Why is that? Why is this FV equal to 1,000? Face value. Okay, remember the face value of bond is always 1,000. So if you do not know what to write, just write FV equals to 1,000, 1 mark. Okay, then moving on, PMT is 70. How do I know 70? Because 7% of 1,000. Okay, number of periods, 8 years left. Okay, 8 years left, and because this annual payment, that means 8 periods. Okay, 8. Market interest rate is berapa? 10%. Okay, then you compute your PV. As simple as that, you get answers. The answer should be 839.95. That means what? That means this is a discount bonds. How do I know? How do I prove? Because the market interest rate is 10. But what about the coupon payments? Coupon rate is 7%. Okay. Market interest rate is 10%, but the coupon rate is 7%. Coupon rate is lower than the market interest rate. Therefore, it's a discount bond. What is discount bond? A bond that is lower than the par value. 839.95. This is your exam answers. Do you need to go and do all the calculation until the whole page here? No need, because this is they are using manual methods. We use calculator methods. So calculator is only like this. How many marks in exam for this one? 4 to 6 marks. Okay, so we use calculator. Okay, kinda easy busy. Okay, let's continue. Today have to go very fast one. Okay, next one. The Smart Choice Public Limited Company has 10% coupon bonds. Okay, on the market with 9 years left to maturity. The bonds make annual payments. Again, so easy, annual payments. All these questions not so good actually. If the bond currently sell for this amount, above that par value, what kind of bond is this? Premium. Okay, what is the market interest rate? Easy. Okay, face value. Always, if you don't know what to do, at least you earn 1 mark. Okay, face value 1,000. PMT 10% of annual payment. 10% of the 1,000 is 100. Number of period 9 years. Okay, 9 periods because this is annual payment, so 9. Okay, present value. Remember to put negative sign. Remember to press your negative sign. Present value. If you do not press negative until now, you are going to get wrong answers. Okay, and then you compute IY. What do you get at the end? You get 7.7. Ta-da! Done. So you need to go and do so complicated, like all the calculations. You see, wow, if you use the formula, you're going to get so confused. So in exam, what you need to write? You write this one. Only. Okay, Ken, let's move on to the next question. Coupon rate. Okay, Merton Enterprise has bonds on the market making annual payment. Again, it's annual payment. That's why the questions are not so good. So later we're going to see tutorial, extra tutorial questions with 16 years to maturity and selling for this amount. At this price, the bonds yield 7.5%. Okay, what must the coupon rate be? So now we want to calculate coupon rate. Okay, so therefore, how do you calculate coupon rate? You have to calculate the PMT first and then convert the PMT into coupon rate. So that means for coupon rate, you have to use what formula? This one, the left-hand side one. So now I want to calculate this annual coupon first. PMT is annual coupon. So once you have PMT and then divided by 1,000 times 100, then you get coupon rate. Okay. So now, same thing. First thing, if you don't know what to write, FV equals to 1,000, 1 mark. Okay, so FV equals to 1,000. Okay, number of period is 16. Okay, because annual payment, annual bonds. Okay, present value, do not forget to put the negative sign, which is 936. Okay, what about the market interest rate? The bonds yield 7.5%. That's what I call as market interest rate, IY. Okay, 7.5. Okay, compute the PMT. Okay, you compute the PMT first. At the end, you should be able to get how much? PMT is 70.95. Okay, you get this amount first. Okay, once you have this amount, next step, okay, compute your coupon rate. Coupon rate equals to PMT divided by face value of bonds times 100. So PMT is 70.95 divided by 1,000 times 100. At the end, you get the answers. Okay, so what's the answers? 7.095%. Okay, because you just cut 20, 20, and then this move 10. Okay, so that's the answers. So what do you write in the exam? You just write these parts over here. Okay, good. Can let's continue. Okay, next question. This is the one that you're asking just now, how the Fisher equation can come out. Okay, now, so let's say an investment offer a 13% total return over the coming year. Bill Bernick thinks that the total real return on this investment will be only 6%. This is a real return. Okay, what does Bill believe the inflation? So you see, they give you what figures? They give you this nominal. So this is nominal. Big R is nominal. Okay, and this 6% is real. Okay, real. So what do you calculate? You calculate the pi, or we call it as a hash. Okay, so you have two methods. If I use the proper Fisher effect, okay, there is this formula which we call as 1 plus R equals to 1 plus the real interest rate bracket 1 plus the inflation. So I put all the values in. So 1 plus the nominal rate is 0.13. Okay, equals to 1 plus the real interest rate, which is 6%, 0.06. Okay, 1 plus hash. Okay, so you can do the calculation easily. Okay, and then you do the calculation. 1.13 divided by 1.06, okay, and then minus 1. Okay, so you will get hash is 6.6%. Okay, so that's the actual calculation. Or if you use the simplified Fisher effect also can. That means how, remember I say nominal interest rate, okay? So we say that the real interest rate equals to the nominal interest rate minus inflation. So I move around and move around, it becomes the nominal interest rate equals to real interest rate plus inflation. So I just put all that in. So like for example, this one we have the values of nominal. Nominal is 13. Okay, 13 equals to 6 plus hash. So hash equals to 7. Okay, but this is less accurate. Okay, 7%. This is less accurate. Why? Because you can see there are some differences in terms of the values. But you have two methods. One is using the actual Fisher effect. Okay, the modified version or the simplified version. Okay, but you can see the answers do not deviate too much. Okay, moving on to the next question, same thing as well. Nominal versus real interest rate, same thing. You are being given that, say you own an asset that had a total return last year of 17%. If the inflation rate is 2.9%, what is the real return? So again, what have you been given? You have been given the nominal rate and the inflation. Now you calculate your real interest rate. So you put all the values in. Okay, either you use these methods, the actual Fisher effect, or the simplified Fisher effect. You can see the values do not deviate too much. Okay, at the end, either you get 13.7% or 14.1%. Okay, so this one you can just go through by yourself. And let's have a look into the next question. Okay, bond yields. Focus more on those bond questions. Now, PK Software has 7.5% coupon bonds on the market with 22 years to maturity. The bonds make semi-annual payments. Finally, there's one question on semi-annual. This is the kind of question you come across in exam. So semi-annual, usually the question will carry 8 marks already. Like one question like this is 8 marks already. And currently sell for 106% of par. So you see 106 of par is how much? So that means the present value is how do you calculate? That means 106% of the par value. The par value is 1,000. So it becomes 1060. So that's the current share bond price, the present value of bonds. Okay. What is the current yield? Again, we have to use the formula later on. So current yield is one of the questions here. Okay. And what is the YTM? And what is the EAR? Remember how to calculate EAR again? Why do I want to calculate EAR? Because YTM is market interest rate. Market interest rate is NOM. Remember? I want to convert this NOM to what? EFF. Remember? EFF, or what calls EAR, or in your calculator it's called EFF. So 3 questions. Okay. So how do you calculate current yield again? So later on, we are going to use back this formula, the one on the right-hand side. Annual coupon divided by price of bonds. Okay. So we need to calculate the current yield. Okay. So first thing first. So we need to write all the values that we have. Okay. So let's calculate the current yield. Now, 7.5% of coupon bonds. Okay. So 7.5% of coupon bonds, but it's semi-annual. So that means I need to use this 7.5% divided by 2, then only times 1,000. Why do I need to divide by 2? Because it's semi-annual. You get these returns twice in a year, but in that year itself is 7.5%. Okay, so therefore I want to divide it by 2. So 7.5% divided by 2 times 1,000. So you try and calculate first. Okay, so 7.5 divided by 2 is 3.75. Okay, so 1,000 of 3.75%. Okay, so is 37.5. Okay, I put all the values first so that later it will be easier for me. Okay, so this is what we call as my PMT. Now, you see, semi-annual, 22 years to maturity. So how many periods will there be? 1 year got how many periods? 2 semi-annual, correct or not? So I have to use 22 times 2, which is 44. Okay, because there will be 44 periods of half year. Okay, so first thing, we calculate current yield first. So current yield equals to annual coupons divided by price value of bonds. So this is price value of bonds. Okay, and this is annual coupon payment. So if annual coupon payment, we do not divide by 2. Okay, so therefore, we just use 7.5% of 1,000. Okay, is how much? 75. 75. Okay, so 75 is my annual coupon payment. Okay, 75 divided by 1060. Where do I get 1060? From my present value of bonds. Okay, then I can calculate straight away, get my current yield, 7.08%. So that's the first part. Okay, what's next? I want to calculate year to maturity. Year to maturity is IY. Okay, this nominal interest rate is IY. So how? So I just write, okay, FV equals to 1,000. PMT is how much? We just calculate 7.5 divided by 2 times 1,000 is 37.5. Okay, number of periods, you use 22 times 2 is 44. Okay, present value is 1060. Then what do you calculate? You calculate the market interest rate IY. But remember, this IY is for half yearly. That's the thing. So you have to times 2. A lot of you will forgot in exam. They forgot to times 2. So at the end, you compute IY, you will get 3.482%. But this is per half year. So your answers do not stop until here. Because what they want is year to maturity. Year to maturity is on yearly basis. So this 3.482% needs to times 2. Okay? Then only you get the actual answers, which is 6.96% per annum, compounded half yearly. Okay, per annum, compounded half yearly. Okay, so that's the answers for year to maturity. Now, when I say year to maturity means market interest rate, or we call it as NOM, or we call it as APR. Remember, I want to calculate EAR. Okay, so this is the second part. So second part is done. Okay, second part is done. So now, what's next is I want to calculate ER. I know it's 6.96% already. So how? I want to convert everything. So use back the EFF function. Okay, second F icon. Okay, you press in the calculator and type NOM is how much? NOM is 6.96. Okay, enter. Okay, then after that, compounded how many times? Tricky questions. Compounded how many times in a year? Half yearly. So, berapa? 2 kali. 2. Compounded 2 times in a year. And then enter. Okay. And you press compute EFF. You get 7.08% compounded yearly. Okay, so that's the answer. There's a part on EFF. Okay, can? Cannot. Patient not coming today.
哎，你记得人家名字哦？
我记得嘞，我记得一信会
跟我呗，那么可怜。
I know Selina 啊 Celine 哦哦我知道你的全名Celine Teo 啊不是 Teo 哟 OK 我认识你的朋友林欢迎姓什么我忘记了林还是丽OK
知道我们不重要啦，你去跟你那个喜欢早发的买过。
不是啦，不要想太多啦。Okay, let's do exam questions. Okay, now see if you can do this one now. This one 8 marks in exam. Okay, but serious now this one. Okay, so suppose a bond with 10% coupon rate, semi-annual coupons, has a face value of 1,000, 20 years to maturity. Sometimes they won't tell you face value of 1,000 one. You must know bonds always 1,000 the face value. And selling for this price. Premium bonds. Calculate the year to maturity. Okay, do this. If you can get full marks or not, 8 marks. First question will be this one already. If you don't know how to write, you just want to you just want to pass, just write FV equals to 1,000. 1 mark
全部都放
FV equals 1,000 20 marks the more bonds question. Okay, first thing, FV equals 1,000. Remember semi-annual okay. So next one, PV. PV is how much? Negative. Do not forget negative If you do not write negative, you'll get everything wrong If you get the values correctly, and the working, sometimes you miss out some things, is okay. I give you full marks as long as the values are correct. I see your final answer first. Make my life easy a bit, like get all correct lah.
要不我拼这，然后你打勾，然后
很幽默嘞你。
哪里是幽默
Okay, and then number of period, remember need to times 2 20 years, but the period is twice a year, so is 40. Okay, what about PMT? PMT is the one that always students confuse one. 10% divided by 2 times 1,000. So it's 50. Okay, you get all the values got ready. Then what you calculate? Compute IY. You compute, you get 4%. Remember, this is per half year. Your answers not stop until here. 8 marks we got so simple one. So of course you need to times 2. Year to maturity, 4% times 2. Then only you get 8% per annum per year. Per annum. Annum means year lah. Okay. Done not 8 marks already. This is why I love marking finance. Easy busy. Better know how to calculate the final answers. I told you already, this will definitely come out. 8 marks. There will definitely be one on semi-annual, one on annual. I know annual you can score. Semi-annual, you will definitely lose some steps one. See the question properly. This is semi-annual. That's why 8 marks. Because you need to calculate a year to maturity. Okay, so this question is easy, right? Can you get Okay, question 2 is very difficult already. You try and see question 2. Very tricky already, this one. Okay, BMW Limited is issued a set of bonds 3 years ago. Ago means you do not take into account of the previous one. You only look into the future one. Okay, and has 18 months until maturity. So 18 months is my concern, not the 3 years ago. Okay, 3 years ago is not my concern, it's to confuse you only. Okay, so I want to see 18 months. The bond has a face value of 1,000. This one we all know. The coupon on the issue is 9% per annum. Okay, paid in semi-annual. Okay, the 9% is what? Coupon rate. Okay, per annum. Per annum. So that means I want to divide by 2 later on. Semi-annual. Do not miss out the word semi-annual. Installment. What is the price of the bond today? Okay, if the year to maturity is 12% per annum, compounded half yearly. Okay, so per annum compounded half yearly. Okay, so first step. If you do not know what to do, just write FV equals to 1,000, 1 mark. Okay, at least the 20 marks, you got 4 marks. So all FV equals 1,000, 1,000. You don't forget, remember chapter 6, you got bond question also. They ask you to calculate the WACC, you need to calculate the bonds. If you don't know how to write, just write FV 1,000 also. Another 1 mark. 不会啊，一直写1000哦。
这样你会看到很多被
这样子写4次可以
4次就4分了。Okay,
一题写4次。
now we have to calculate the PV of bonds. 不要笑，有人这样子做的嘞。
真的啊。
有人很 desperate 的，不要笑人家哎。有3个 step， 有3个 step， 有不会吧？
写够50个，直接有。
看你会不会给他重新。
他整个 finance 就学会那个 FV of bond equals to 1,000罢了。
要吗？
为了 FV 1,000。
好，
哎，还有另外一个，你知道 Chapter 9还不是问你 WACC， 还问你 market value 不是啊？你就拿那个 price times quantity 不是啊？然后还会做那个哦，还有赚至少一个10分在那边的，因为那个一题2分哦。
一题2分。
对 ，price times quantity。
这样老师还蛮聪明。
是。Okay, so now we calculate PMT. How much is PMT? So 9% divided by 2 times 1,000. Okay, for what? 45. Okay, now N is the one that's tricky because 18 months to maturity, and this is semi-annual. Semi-annual means you get the payments once every half year. Every half year, right? So 18 months, how many half years do you have? In Chinese, we call it as 18个里面有多少个半年? If you find very confusing to understand, I repeat, 18 months means how many half year you have in 18 months. 在18个月里面有多少的半年? 3个. How do you know it's 3个? How do you calculate that 3个? See? Now you understand already, lor. If not, you do not, you are wondering, how come this 18 months? 有人不懂不要笑人家嘞。Okay, 18 months divided by 6 because half year we got 6 months. So divided by 6, okay, equals to 3 periods. Remember, N always equals to periods, not year. And by now you should know N not always equals to years, equals to periods. So the 3 here is the 3 periods. 就是说有3个半年哦。Okay, 3个半年。Okay, IY is berapa? IY is 12% per annum. Okay, so 12% divided by 2. Okay, 12% divided by 2 is 6%. Okay, what do we calculate? We calculate PV. So you definitely get a negative answers one. Okay, this is the one that you write. So at the end you get 959.90 in negative. Okay, so this is the answers. 好玩哦，一直是 FVPV，整个反正就是这样了。What you write in exam is just this one. I highlight in yellow only. Yes. What? Which one? Oh, this one. The only difference is that you write this one only, the rest is the same. You see the rest 45 PMT. Is this one?
But I just write like yours.
I write my one on a straight. It's easier to see. I don't have to put it in horizontal. Who say must put on horizontal? Oh, okay, there. It doesn't matter whether it's horizontal or vertical. Oh. Okay. Oh, 是. You got learn this chapter. You got teach this chapter. By right, this chapter is only for independent learning, so that means your lecture didn't cover. Didn't cover it. Oh, this week you got class also. Then how you next to cover this one? Cannot be what? Tutorial 6 should be not. 这还比我们快一堂课。你不如人家给人家 compress 的咩？compress 的啊，compress 的。Okay, because if I write horizontal, it's very messy. You see, 45 PMT, 1000 FV, 3N, 6I, and compute PV is a bit messy. So I usually write like this. Okay, now we are done. So this is the focus on extra tutorial questions. Okay, I want to show you one more tricky questions. Okay, because they want to usually a lot of people got A already. They want to confuse you a bit. So I want to show you one last one. Okay, one thing when you do revision for finance, chapter 6 to 10, right? Focus all the extra questions. Okay, this chapter 6 extra question is the back. Chapter 7, remember we have different growth methods. Focus on those extra questions as well, especially the non-constant growth. And chapter 8 is risk and return, right? Risk and return, remember in your answer scheme, we have one extra question at the back. That one we spend a long time to do one. You focus on that as well. Chapter 9, you focus on the cheat sheet that ask you to do during the recap. Okay. And chapter 10 is just focus on the slides. So that means my point is you focus all the extra tutorial questions. That's how the exam question looks like. They change the numbers on it actually. Okay, so sure. So one more tricky questions. Okay, let's say we do one more questions. Okay, so let's see if you can do or not. Okay, because yesterday I forgot to put that in, so a bit busy. So let me write it here now. Okay, let's say estimate the price of a 9-year 0 coupon bond. Okay, with a par value of 1000 if the year to maturity is 9%. So estimate the price. So estimate the price means what? PV estimate. Okay, present value of bonds. Okay, can anyone calculate this or not? Okay, how many marks this one will have? Okay, this one is 4 marks. Okay, see if anyone can get this correctly or not. Tricky question 来的这个。
Tricky question 不是给4个人。
很多刚才已经很多那个 FV 1000了
这个可以写 FV。
对 ，Okay, if you do know, first thing, FV equals to 1000, 1 mark.
这个讲会是我们选项。
Okay, how?
我们刚讲一下这个可能大家都不会。
我弟弟。
那你可能不会你们不要觉得这算1分吧
啊。
你真的。
Hello，美女们。喂，真的赚1分吧？
完了，2分就不错哦。就这个1分我拿定了，这个1分。
你不要乱放只有在 bond market 的 FV 是1000吧，你知道吧？
懒得放到没有，你看每一题我都有这个。
乱写到时候。
错吗？是不爱做打字就
FV 1000。OK， 很简单吗 ？N 多少先 ？N 9 OK， 很好。来 ，YTM 你有吗 ？IY 也等于9，这样 BMD 猜多少？ 诶，你想要拿是76，你想来 zero coupon 哦，yes zero， 它这个是没有给 coupon 的，所以这 question 很 weird，因为是很少有这样的很少有这样的东西。Okay, compute PV, then you get the answers already, 4 marks. Okay, you get what? Negative 406.43. That's why. 你看到有那个 zero 的东西哦，你就知道其中一个 component 是 zero 了。So how they make money from buying this bond 呢？ They can only make money from the difference between the par value and the selling price. Because you don't earn the coupon, no interest on this kind of bonds. But it's rare lah. It's rare. So PMT is zero. That means no interest on. You only hold the bonds only. Unless you sell to people at the selling price. But it's rare lah, just to confuse you only. Because you get zero. No returns one. You buy the bond without any return. YTM 是 market interest rate, yes, confirm. Confirm 啦，confirm。所以你看 market interest rate 可以写哦 ，IY 到底多少哦？coupon rate 就好像刚才第一题啊 ，extra question 的第一题 ，extra question 的第一题。OK，coupon rate 还是要给的啦，不然他抓不到东西啊。PMT 我刚才那个第一个 page 那个比较少啊。除非他这里放 coupon rate 的，把它少啊把这个你应该刚刚如果问你也懂吗 ？Right？ 会的啦。
希望我有读啊。
哇，TV 对 coupon rate TV PMT to FV FV always equals to 1000. Okay, so remember if they buy this bond they make the money from the difference, okay, between the purchase price and the par value 就是赚那个差价吧。Par value is always equals to 1000嘛。如果你今天买这个 bonds 的价钱 as a discount price, let's say at the price of 800，这样你就赚那个差价咯。800 and 1000，你赚200哦。True. No, but par value is always equals to 1000. By the time it matures, you get back the 1000嘛。FV 嘛 ，par value is FV. So it was. Okay, discount bond is because you buy from second party. Like for example, remember like Mr. A just now, he doesn't want to hold the bonds for 6 years. In between, he want to sell out to people. So by year 3, he sell to Mr. B. Let's say he sell to you. Then you buy at a discount rate.
So the company won't sell at discount rate.
It depends. They can do that as well. They can do that as well. Okay. So that's all you need to know for tutorial 6. 哇，欢乐的时间过得特别快。
那个时候说拜拜。
真的
你要去找你的 micro 的。
又要有人讲话了，没有喂，你们才是。
找爸的动力喂，那时候叫我们哪里是你动力啊？感觉。
你们才是我动力，真的。我只要